Hey everybody, this is Luke from Comics The Gathering, and welcome to another episode of Fresh Off the Racks. This week, big week this week, I've got 6 titles, so let's dive right in, get started. I got 4 from Marvel, 1 from Dark Horse, and then 1 from DC. So let's start with The Punisher, number 218, part of the Legacy relaunching series. Punisher War Machine Part 1. Here's the cover. Kind of a crazy wartime cover. So, it's written by Matthew Rosenberg and drawn by Yuri Villanova. So I've never heard of any of the writer, or I've never heard of the writer or the artist, but looks pretty good. I enjoyed the story. So the story, this kind of reminds me of the old Max imprints, except without the swearing. So it's got that Garth Ennis used to write, and Steve Dillon drew. Not just Steve Dillon, but other artists as well. But like I said, it's very violent, lots of action, and Nick Fury's in this. What happens is he seeks out the Punisher and has a job for him. Apparently there's this dictator in this country, in this foreign country, where he's killing children and abusing children, and Fury knows that Punisher has a soft spot for children in danger, so he says, well, you can, take him out. What you got to do, but you can have the secret weapon that it's pretty much, if you don't know, I won't spoil it, but it's kind of in the title. And yeah, so yeah, like I said, it's a lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of violence, Punisher style, of course. And the artist is, what's interesting about this is that the way he draws Frank Castle, I don't think it's a coincidence, but he's drawn to look like Jon Bernthal, the actor Jon Bernthal, for the upcoming Punisher series, which debuts today, actually, on Netflix. So yeah, he looks exactly like him. So I don't think it's much of a coincidence, but it works though. So, and that's what Marvel does. I mean, they for years before the Marvel movies, the big Avenger movies, the heroes would look a certain way. Then the movies came out, and they sort of changed the way they look, and now the comics sort of reflect the movies now. So it's kind of in the reverse sense. But so yeah, so in this, the Punisher looks exactly like Jon Bernthal. So yeah, I enjoy this. I think it's going to go. I think I'm going to enjoy where it's going. And like I said, nice artwork, good story, and yeah, so a lot of fun. If you like Punisher, definitely pick this one up. Now I've got over here. I've got the Mighty Thor 701. Death of the Mighty Thor. Here's a nice, interesting cover right there with the Mangog, who just destroyed, not Mjolnir, but I believe it's War Thor's hammer, aka Volstagg. So this is written by Jason Aaron, whose work on Thor goes beyond what he's doing now. He's been writing Thor for a couple years now, and I remember the series he did about the God Butcher, which was, I think, when he started, and ever since then he's been a wonderful addition to such a great title and a great series. So this one, yeah, and this one's drawn by guest artist James Herron. So the story is the Mangog, who's looks like it's like an orange and red, looks like a big bull, like a taureau. He's got horns and huge hands, and he's basically an unstoppable force. He's like the Juggernaut, but meaner, if that's possible. So what it is it's a fight to the death between the Mangog and Volstagg, who's known as the War Thor. He's got the special hammer, and I'm not too familiar. I mean, he's mentioned in the last issue, the big anniversary 700 issue. I knew who he was. I knew who Volstagg was, but I didn't know the whole backstory of how he became War Thor. They kind of explain it, and then he went berserk, and then he's back, and he became Volstagg. He was no longer War Thor, and now he's War Thor again. So it's basically a fight to the death, and it's just a big Royal Rumble on this planet, and they're just beating the crap out of each other, and it's kind of a fun issue. Lots of action and huge panels, and the artist, the guest artist, James Herron. I like his style. It's like a mixture of a combination of Jack Kirby and Walter Simonson. I find there's like a lot of rough edges, broad shoulders, square jaws. They're very larger than life characters, huge behemoths. But I like it. It's really fun. There's also a little backstory about Queen Carnilla, because she was slain in the last issue, and then she goes down to hell and she meets up with her former lover, Balder the Brave, which I haven't seen since, I can't remember, since the I don't know if I'll say the Walter Simonson comics, but the Walter Simonson run, or maybe a little bit after that. But it's been a long time. It's been years, so I never knew what happened to this character until now. So yeah, so I like this issue. It's interesting. It's gonna be really cool with the upcoming issues. I don't know where it's going, but the Mangog is headed towards Asgardia, which used to be called was Asgard before. Now it's Asgardia. So so the future issues will be very interesting, and it's really getting hot. So so the artist, James Herron, he's the guest artist. I'm hoping that regular artist is, I don't know, it would be nice to see Esad Ribic, please. But I have no idea who draws. I could find out, but yeah, so looking forward to some more issues of Thor. So this is a great title, so pick this up. All right. Well, I got 2 Spider-Man issues now. We'll start with the Amazing Spider-Man 791, Fall of Parker. There's a nice cover there by Alex Ross. And nice cover there. He's Spider-Man sharing a kiss with Mockingbird, who can fly now. I didn't realize that until this issue, that she has sort of vulture wings and she's flying, which kind of makes sense. It was called Mockingbird and she never flew before. So this is written by Dan Slott, regular writer Dan Slott, and regular artist Stuart Immonen, who's always great to look at. I mean, his work is, it's flawless. It's one of the best drawn Spider-Man I've ever seen. So this is a very light issue. There's a few things going on. There's action. There's suspense. There's even a little bit of romance. And then what's cool is that Peter Parker's life is getting back on track. It's funny. It's like he's come full circle. He's now working for the Daily Bugle, and Robbie is the editor-in-chief now, since J. Jonah Jameson has left. And he gives Peter a job about he has to write these weekly articles on science for the Daily Bugle, which is right up Peter's alley. So this is a fun issue, lots of action again, and then there's a little surprise villain at the end. Nothing major, but it's a villain that we haven't seen in a while, so I thought that was kind of cool. And then what makes the best part about this particular comic, this issue, is Peter Parker, his last words on the last page. I won't spoil it, but he says something that, as a Spider-Man fan, will give me anyway a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's like, it's kind of sweet. So great issue and great series. So there you go. Okay, so now the other Spider-Man series that's almost as great as Amazing Spider-Man is Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, number 297. Here we go. right there. Nice cover there of Spider-Man in handcuffs. So it's Most Wanted Part 1. Oh, it's also the first in the renumbering of the Legacy, Marvel's Legacy, right there. So there you go. Which I didn't think they'd do because Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, the series had just started from a few months ago. So, but you know, they're doing this sort of. I think they're doing this. I think Marvel's doing this for all the titles, so why not this one, right? So, so we continue the story. This story takes place right after the amazing last issue, where the huge bomb was dropped when Spider-Man. I'll spoil it now. If you haven't read it, it's your fault. Spider-Man reveals his identity, his secret identity to J. Jonah Jameson. I won't go into the story, but and then he just leaves his apartment and goes back, and Peter goes back to his apartment. But what he doesn't know is that he walks in, and then there's this highly powered armored SWAT team who works for a rogue SHIELD division called the Grey Blade, and yeah, they're pretty much ambushing Peter Parker. They want to arrest him. So the entire issue takes place mostly in Peter's apartment, and every panel, every page, almost every page has 6 panels. It's all very cut and dry, but the way it's drawn, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. So and then Peter's powers, his spider sense stops working. He doesn't know what's going on. So that's a huge disadvantage for him because he's so used on depending on his spider sense that he doesn't know what to do. So a great issue, lots of suspense, lots of action, and then there's a little surprise ending, not a shocking ending as the last issue with J. Jonah Jameson, but there's a little surprise at the end that you can kind of see coming. If you look at the cover again, you're like, wow, okay, that kind of makes sense. So another great issue from a great series. Oh, and I forgot to mention that it's written by Chip Zdarsky and written by Adam Kubert, who's back as a regular artist. But it looks a little different this time. But I think it's written. He has some help from Juan Frigeri, who's helping him draw with. I think he's doing the inks for that, which makes his artwork look a little different than what I'm used to. But I still like it. It's still great to look at. So yeah. So awesome series. Do yourself a favor, pick this up. Okay, so now we're with Dark Horse. From the pages of Hellboy, Rasputin, the Voice of the Dragon, #1 of 5. Here's a cover. Awesome cover. Look at that. Yeah, at first I thought it was Mike Mignola cover, but it's actually drawn by. It looks painted too. It's by Mike Huddleston, which the name rings a bell, but I can't really remember what he's drawn. It's written. The comic is written by Mike Mignola and Chris Robertson, and art by Christopher Mitten. So yeah, I was reluctant to buy this one, but I was curious because I like the cover and always thought Rasputin was kind of an interesting character, and the artwork is interesting.